Okay, welcome to Resilient Business, where we talk with small business owners in health and wellness, human performance, biohacking, recovery, rehab, and longevity. Today's guest is Gutierrez from MitoLux. Guti, how are you today?
Thank you for having me here. I'm just happy to be sharing with you all my experience and my own journey in health.
Yes, fantastic. And so we met probably about a year ago now at one of the
Yeah.
masterminds where we belong together and around lots of biohacking products and wellness and the IV business and all of that. And I was just really impressed with your product when I first saw it and first experienced it. And now I have it here. But I was hoping that you would tell your story before we get into the product specifically. Maybe give us a little bit of your background and history and what got you to where you are today.
Okay. Of course. Well, basically, I studied economics. Then I had a love for photography. So while I was taking my MBA in Spain, I decided to study photography, and I didn't like office jobs. So I decided to start working as advertising photographer. So I did that for many years, and I did great. I did campaigns for many famous international brands, also for many magazines, famous people, presidents. So I was doing good. Then I decided I wanted to teach because I love sharing knowledge, because it was very difficult for me to learn photography. So in 2015, I started studioguti.com, and it became the number one photography school in Spanish in Latin America. So we did like 17 books, 40 different courses. Also, I have a version in English, but it's most directed into posing for photography. It's still working. And basically, what got me into the biohacking scene is that during the pandemic, as many people did, I had a big divorce. I wasn't expecting it, and it was very hard on me physically and emotionally. And I went to the doctor, so I got prescribed antidepressants. Also, my testosterone dropped like crazy, and I got TRT, and just went that way. And it really helped. I'm not against TRT. It really helped me a lot. Also, the antidepressants in the moment were lifesaver. But 2 years later, I was not liking that idea that if I missed by 2 hours, 3 hours, the antidepressants or a day, I was feeling like hell. So I talked to my psychiatrist and said, like, how can I stop doing that? And obviously, doctors say like you have to do it for the rest of your life, and also to the TRT, to the endocrinologist doctor, he said like you have to do it for the rest of your life. So I started doing my own research, and it was very interesting because I had been working the previous 15 years with light as the modeling tool for photography. And then many of the books were showing me that the pathway to better testosterone, to better serotonin, to better mood was actually in the light of the sun. So I gave it a try. And since I live in El Salvador and we have great weather here most of the year, I started doing nude sunbathing. So completely nude. I started 5 minutes one side, 5 minutes on the other. And the amazing thing is that I started feeling better emotionally from day number one, like a big boost in my mood. And I was like, wow. So I started researching, and basically 4 months later, I was without TRT, and my testosterone was around 620. So I was doing great. At the beginning, it dropped, but then it rose. And also, gradually, they took out of the antidepressants, and I was feeling happier than ever. So taking sunlight became a part of my life. And the interesting thing is that since I grew in the 80s, you were taught to avoid the sun because it's like a sun is the word for you get away and da da da. So I was really pale just 6 years ago, and now I'm always getting a tan. So basically, the idea for my product came because I wanted to buy a lamp that could give me a light similar to the sun. That means not just the infrared, but also the UV side. And I found that nobody was building one. So I said, like, wow, that's a great opportunity because right now we live in a sun deprived society. And I started developing my lamp. And About 9 months later, I was already in biohacking conferences, starting to promote my MitoLux lamp.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's great. And it's evolved since then. And it's a great product. Like I say, I have one. I use it every day. I really enjoy it. I travel with it. So there's a lot of great things about it. But I want to touch on one of the things you brought up, and that's just your personal health journey. And it wasn't doing so great from a testosterone side and your mood and all of that. But since there's so much sort of programming or indoctrination around the sun being harmful to people
Yes,
that there's a lot of people who avoid the sun and stay
yes,
inside, and our jobs keep us inside a lot of times, and they just by choice they avoid it because they think it's going to be harmful in some way. So through your research you've probably also learned that there are several chronic health conditions that are related to the avoidance of sun potentially. And so maybe
there
can
are so
you
many.
touch on some of that a little bit?
Yes, basically regarding the sun, I think there were many interests behind of making people scared of the sun. And just as an example, I was raised during the 1980s, and you were told like you have to eat margarine, avoid butter, you have to eat seed oils, you have to avoid animal fats because those are bad to you. And now things have shifted the opposite way since we have no more data. So right now it's like you have to avoid any trans fats and take butter. It's better to eat lard than to eat vegetable oils. So something similar is happening to light because during the 1970s there were a lot of studies that made headlines that made people scared of taking the sun. Most of those studies, by the way, what they did is that they took cells, put a lot of UV exposure, but without the infrared. So obviously, if you're giving UV in a way that is not natural to the way you get the UV in the sun, that is just a little UV with a lot of infrared, then you're making some unnatural conditions that basically harm the cells. But if you do it in the way as nature, or is in my land, because it's always UV plus the infrared, then it's totally different. So regarding some of the diseases that are right now linked directly to sun avoidance, anything that's related to vitamin D, for example, if you don't get enough sunshine or if you live in places that don't have the sun high enough, because that's also another issue. If you live near the equator, you can have UVB basically year round. But if you live in Atlanta, in New York, in Canada, then during the summer, the sun goes up, so you get enough UVB. But in winter, the sun doesn't get high enough. So basically, you're not getting the UVB. So when you're not getting the vitamin D, you start getting lots of diseases. For example, all autoimmune diseases are linked to low sunlight exposure and also low vitamin D. Low testosterone is also linked to low sun exposure. Depression is also linked. And one interesting thing, even cancers, the less sun you take, the more incidence of colon cancer, breast cancer, and many other cancers that you're going to be getting.
Yeah, I saw one study that several folks that I listened to talk about the Swedish, the women in
Ah, yeah,
Sweden that were studied. And it turns out that the women who, it was a smoking study, smoking
yeah.
cigarettes and taking the sun and not taking the sun. And it had some very surprising results as well. Do you know about that one?
Ah, yes, I know that study. Basically, they were trying to prove that getting the sun was dangerous. So they made this study and in women, and when the results came, they were totally surprised because they found that women that smoked but took the sun were doing even better than the women that didn't smoke but didn't take the sun. So basically, 38 higher mortality rate from people not taking the sun,
Wow.
and it was just a game changer because everybody, when they hear smoking, everybody knows that's one of the worst things you can do to your health. But avoiding the sun is as dangerous as smoking.
Yep.
So just by getting the sun, you can basically improve your health in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not only taking the sun or supplementing sunlight through a device like yours, but there's also a big component to today's diseases that are caused by indoor, not just not getting the sun, but getting
Mhm.
the incorrect type of lights
Yes,
in the wrong
definitely.
balance. And so maybe you could talk about that for a minute.
Yes, basically, when I was a child, the light bulbs that we used to have were incandescent. So those were the orange ones. So they were not so efficient, but they were actually healthy because 90% of the energy was infrared. So it's similar to the sun because in the sun you have like 65% infrared. But the problem that it's that when they started trying to get better efficiency, they came with the fluorescent that were really bad. For example, in my case, I'm very sensible to the type of light I'm in. If I go in a room with incandescent lighting, I get depressed, I get down, I feel bad, I got even uh, uh, aches, and
Mm.
so I tried to avoid it. And then came the LEDs. The LEDs were better because the at least the visible side of the spectrum was better. But the problem is that they were missing the infrared, and the problem is that our bodies are designed, our mitochondria, just like your shirt mentions, are designed to always be receiving infrared because when your skin doesn't receive the infrared, then the mitochondria don't work well and we start getting sick.
Mm.
So we really need to get infrared either in sunlight or any other form to be healthy.
Yeah, and the blue light that's emitted by some of
Ah,
the
yes,
emitting screens and the phones and the LED lights, even though they're more efficient, they emit more of the blue lights on the spectrum, which is also comes with the sun, but with the sun it's more balanced, right, with red and all the other
yes.
spectrum, and so it's not harmful. Matter of fact, it has its benefits, but when you get the blue light by itself, which is what we get in all of our indoor light and all of our tech, then
Yes,
that's what's going to be, causing a lot of the harm.
yes, the problem is that in the sun, for example, it's very wide. You get UVB, then you get more UVA, then you get more visible, then you get more infrared, but it's all a soft curve. And in the way that 99% of LEDs are produced, it has a huge spike on the blue than on the other visibles, and it has zero infrared. So basically, when you're in front of the screen or when you are using LEDs, you're overexposing yourself to blue light that will make your skin and your eyes age faster. But it's not only the problem with the blue, it's the high blue without any infrared because in nature, there's blue at the right times of the day, not at night, for example, but it's always correlated with high infrared. And the worst problem comes when you use LEDs at night, or your computer, or your cell phone, or your iPad, because you're going to be disrupting your circadian rhythm. Because when your eyes sense blue light, they say, like, okay, it's time to be awake, or cortisol, all your chemistry changes and you're being awake, and then that causes insomnia, and then everything starts falling apart just by disrupting your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people talking about that recently, and I've listened to a few of the talks by Dr. Jack Cruz, as I know a lot of
Mhm.
folks in our space, have listened to his teachings, and I think it's really interesting the way he talks about the eye not being a lens like most people think, but it's more of a clock, and when
Yeah.
the light hits the certain part of the eye that goes into the certain part of the brain. Maybe you could talk about that. It will set the timers basically in your body, and your body has and your brain have lots and lots of different timers. And if they're off by a little bit, it could mean potentially harmful results down the road if that continues. Is that
Yes.
something you've looked at?
Basically, in the brain, we have something called the hypercharismatic nucleus that is connected to to our eyes, and it's sensible in the blue spectrum. So the right way to work out your day, for example, is try to wake up early and go pick us as much natural light in your eyes, because that will tell your brain like, "Hi, it's morning. We need to start." working as daylight. So the problem is that now, instead of getting the 10,000 lux that we should be getting, where we're usually in our homes or in an office, we're around 400 to 500 lux. So that's just a fraction of the amount of light that we need to trigger our brains to think that it's daylight. So that's why people are so tired and are so depressed, because basically they're having seasonal affective disorder all year around by the lack of high intensity natural light. And the problem goes on the opposite way. During the night that you're supposed to have very little light, and if any, you need to have at warm colors like a fireplace or like a candle, or you're having the screens that are 60% blue or 70% blue. So you're making your body think that it's still day. So you really need the light and the dark cycle in order to have good health. And when we disrupt the circadian rhythm, we start getting diabetes and metabolic syndrome and so many diseases. Even cancer is linked to a disruption in the circadian rhythm.
Yeah, I know. It just, I feel like so many things are connected to just either getting the right kind of light or not getting the right kind of light or getting harmful light. Now, you talked earlier about vitamin D and testosterone. What would you say to the person? A lot of people supplement this stuff, and you talked about TRT. But a lot of people will supplement vitamin D and say, no, I'm okay. I'm good. My vitamin D is good because I take a supplement every day. I take 1,000 IUs or 4,000 IUs. What would you say to someone? Are they actually getting optimized, benefit from taking that oral supplement?
Okay, first of all, most people, not most people, but in the United States, around 40% of Americans cannot absorb well the vitamin D because they have some sort of inflammation in their colon, like irritable bowel disease, or because of gluten or many. So a lot of people that are actually taking vitamin D, when they go test themselves, they're going to be surprised that their vitamin D level is low. So that's one first reason not to depend only on oral vitamin D, but actually go take the sun. Number two is that when they have done tests trying to replicate the benefits of high vitamin D levels caused by sunshine, than just giving people the vitamin D, around 80% of the benefits that you get from the sun cannot be replicated with oral vitamin D. So vitamin D will never be a replacement for taking the sun. And vitamin D levels should just be a marker if you're getting enough sunlight or if you're not getting. So when you take vitamin D, for example, you're not triggering a lot of chemical processes. For example, you mentioned testosterone. In summer, when we're getting more vitamin D, people have increased libido, for example, because there's a protein called P53 that when it gets in contact with UVB, it basically triggers your body to start producing more testosterone. And you cannot get that with vitamin D by itself. So what I recommend people is, yes, I take vitamin D myself, but the best way is to always try to complement that with taking natural sunshine.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And not everybody lives, like you alluded to earlier, in a latitude where you have good sun year round. Even in Atlanta here, we're at 34 latitude roughly. And so for a few months out of the year in the wintertime, I'm not getting the same vitamin D production, I guess, out of the sun as I would be in the summertime. And so I use a circadian app so that I can track how much vitamin D is being produced, what the UV rating is for the day. But not everybody lives, where we can. And so we're getting to the point of where a device like yours can help to supplement that sunlight, that vitamin D, that testosterone creation, all the benefits of the sun for those parts of the year when you're not. But that's really only part of the benefits of your product. So let's now introduce talking about the MitoLux lamp and its features and capabilities and sort of what makes it different, if you would.
Okay. Yes, I just want to mention one thing is that people, when they live in sunny places, they believe they're doing great in vitamin D because the sun is there. But for example, even in El Salvador, the vitamin D deficiency rate is around 40 to 45%.
Mm.
And we have all of the sun, but that doesn't matter if people are working 9 to 5, staying indoors during the weekends. So don't trust just because you live in a sunny place, you're going to be doing good. Even in Miami, the vitamin D deficiency rates are really, really bad because not everybody goes and enjoys the sun as they should be taking. So never feel sure just because you live in the right place that you're doing great.
Yeah,
And
and
yes,
you also have to keep in mind what we were saying earlier is that if you are working 9 to 5, you're being hit with a lot of blue light and a lot of just radiative frequencies and things like that that sort of work against what nature is trying to do for you. So, no, that's a great point.
yes, so when you work 9 to 5, you really need more than anyone else to get out because you have all those hours without the infrared and all those hours with the blue light. So you really need to go out more or get a device that can give you infrared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And here is the MitoLux. When I designed the lamp, I wanted to be nice looking and also very compact because, for example, with my father, I bought him a big red light therapy panel before I start producing my own. And he said, like, yeah, it's great, but it's too bulky, it's too big. I don't have the space. I would like something smaller that has enough power, but I could put it at a table just beside my bed. So when I developed, and here you have it. So it's very compact, but it's really, really, really powerful. As you have seen when I turn it on,
Hmm.
it's getting four different wavelengths of amber. Most people are not using the amber, and it has a lot of benefits, plus red and two wavelengths of near infrared. So basically, you can use the lamp first of all as a red light therapy device. You just put it in the healing mode. Just need 10 minutes a day, and that will help rejuvenate your skin. And they ask like, how can it rejuvenate your skin? And I say it's very simple because you're giving energy to your mitochondria, and when you're young, your mitochondria have a lot of energy, and that's it starts going down. So you're just rejuvenating by giving more energy in a similar but different way that EMF. It's just like getting more energy into the cells. So first of all, it works like a red light therapy device. So for people that want to use it, you can use it like this. You get your hands, you get your neck, you get your face. Obviously, you can use it in any part of the body, and that's like part number one. But what makes this device totally different is that you can go to the program mode, and that will also add a wavelength of UVB at 295 nanometers. That during many scientific tests, it proved to be the most efficient at creating vitamin D in the least amount of time. So people don't have the time for example, to use this in your chest for 30 minutes because you don't have the time. So when I developed this, I wanted to take just 5 minutes for an average skin color of an American to get basically more than 2,000 IUs of vitamin D and natural vitamin D. So that's amazing because you can take a shower, you shine it in your chest for 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll be getting basically your dose of vitamin D, all the other hormonal benefits, and obviously also the infrared.
Yeah. Yeah, super easy to use. And then with the UVB, you have some sort of safety or sort of management features on it because
Yes.
you can still overdo it because it is a very strong and intense UVB, correct? And
Yes,
so
it's
you do a really
it,
good job of a manual that you provide with different protocols and timers and a distance sensor so people don't get too close. So, yeah, talk about how we can keep people safe even though they're having a very intense UVB
yes.
experience.
Yes, well, basically regarding vitamin D lamps, I'm not the first one making a vitamin D lamp. Actually, they have been manufactured since the 1930s.
Mm.
So it's amazing because it's almost 100 years of vitamin D lamps. The problem is the technology that they used to have, like mercury, like arc. Now they have fluorescent. So I just try to understand what could be improved. And LED is the new technology, so it's better because you can pinpoint the exact wavelengths that you need. And one of the things that I found is that people were getting burned with previous technologies because with light, when this is designed to be used at 15 inches, but if you go at 7 inches, then you have 4 times more energy, so you can get burned. So we actually designed this device to be the first product, a light therapy product that has a distance sensor. So if you get closer than 13 inches, it will make a sound and it will pause because what we love is safety and we want to make people have the exact dose. So regarding the dosing, for example, most people in America are at Fitzpatrick type 2. So what you would need to do is to use the lamp in the P2. That's just 4 minutes. So you use it on your bare chest. You put the safety glasses because the power output is very, very strong. That's why you only need 4 minutes. It's around 12 to 15 times stronger than the Caribbean sun. So basically, you will be getting around 2 to 3,000 IUs of vitamin D, depending on your age and many factors. So it's very safe. So what you want to do is to find the sweet spot, and that's when you get a little bit pink, at least in Fitzpatrick type 2. In my case, I'm a Fitzpatrick type 3. At the beginning with the P3, I was getting a little pink, so I was there. But when you stop seeing that pink, that means that your body has gotten used to the UV, so you can raise one level. So I got to the P4 and then P5, and sometimes I even use P6 because I'm already used to that. So that's one of the beautiful things about the lamp is that you could get always safety because you can be dosing exactly. And with the sun, sometimes you get a little, sometimes you get more, sometimes you get clouds if the time of the year changes. And obviously with an app like the one you're mentioning, you can do it in a safer way. But that's the beauty of the lamp because you're always getting the right dose, so you never get burned.
Yeah. No, excellent. And would somebody use this lamp every day or a few times a week? I hear different things about different devices in the red light realm. What do you feel about daily use, and how long do you use it for? Sort of that type of that side of the protocol, if you would.
Yeah, for example, in red light, usually I recommend that you should at least get it 4 times a week to see results because, as I mentioned, infrared is nothing super high tech or new technology. If you go during the morning light, it's basically 70% infrared. So for the people that don't have the money to buy a red light therapy device, then just go with as little clothing as possible to walk at the first time of the day or at the last if you live in the right place. But if you want to see results with infrared, at least 4 times per week. And with the UVB, it's a little similar. If someone is doing really, really bad with their vitamin D, so I recommend that you get tested, then you could use it every day, once in your chest and once in your back. So as long as you don't get too high exposure, you can even use it every day. So it's better to go with little quantities and frequent use than to use a lot and then don't get more light for 2 or 3 weeks.
Sure.
So it will be similar depending on your vitamin D level. Just to keep your vitamin D 3 times a week will be enough if you're already at the right place. But if you want to increase it, then you should be using it 5 times per week. And if you want to increase it even faster, 1 time in your chest and 1 time in your back.
Okay, excellent. And how about the actual time of day that you're utilizing this? And so from my experience is I usually wake up before sunrise by as much as 2 hours before sunrise.
Wow.
And I'd love to be able to sleep a little bit longer, but most days, if the sunrise is coming up at 7, I'm usually up at 5. And so is it advisable to wait to use the red light, or can I use it prior to sunrise even?
You can use it prior to sunrise. As I told you, the one that triggers your circadian rhythm is blue light. So if you wanted to use the red light as early as possible, it won't wake you up as a sat lamp because it doesn't have the blue component. But usually I recommend people, and the way that I do it myself, I use the program mode after I take a shower. It will be for me 5 to 6 minutes. And usually I like doing the red light therapy a couple of hours before I go to sleep. But you can do it earlier. And also because it doesn't have the blue light, it won't disrupt your circadian rhythm. And that's why you see many biohackers that during the night their house is filled with red light therapy panels because it won't disrupt your circadian rhythm. So
Yeah.
you can use it at any time without being afraid that it's going to mess your melatonin.
Yeah, I have heard some people say just be careful of how bright it is, and if you have it
Yeah.
facing right at you late at night, that might not be the best idea. So we
Yeah.
usually take one of ours and turn it up against the wall and let it shine on the wall instead of into the
Hmm.
room, and we find that
Yes.
that's pretty good.
If you can see
Yeah.
here, the MitoLux lamp comes with two glasses, and people ask like, when should I use them?
Hmm.
And I tell them both block the UV. The difference is that the dark ones also block most of the light. So if you're wanting to use them at night and you don't want to get any bright, you use this one. And if you want to have the infrared, no, the visible component, the red and orange, then you can use these ones.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. Except for people like me who have these big prescription glasses, and so I have to go to my friend Rudy at Viva Rays and get my 3 pack of different time of
I
day.
have them too, and I love them
These are
too.
fantastic. I just love that. And
Yes.
so, we're all doing these different habits and things to try to just sort of optimize our light environment, either making sure we're not getting the wrong kind of light, making sure we're getting the right kind of light. The other thing I like about your product too is that it comes with a stand. And
Mm,
so I see one behind you there where you have the stand,
yeah.
and that's a flexible stand. And so you can, the reason I like it, number one reason I like it is because you can put it with pulse and use it with PMF. So if somebody is sitting in
Yeah.
the PMF chair or lying on the PMF bed, you can bend that stand so that they can get that red light on their torso at the same time, or on their face in the healthy mode, in the red light mode. And
Mm.
so I love it for that. But it's a great modality that you have there to stack with other, yeah, yep, to stack with
And
other
the sign,
biohacks.
so we're also selling the travel case. So one of the nice things is that people that travel also don't get access to good sunlight. So it's very compact. You put it in your travel case, and if you want, then you can remove this base, the one that comes standard, and you can use the this stand over here. So basically, you can use it while watching TV on a couch or while using the Pulse PMF. So it's very versatile.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the fact that you can travel with it too. I travel with mine all the time. And, I'm kind of famous for going outside and taking a picture of the hotel. And one hotel room is all red because that's where the
Yeah.
light is. And so I like to promote the red light that way and get people interested, because I think when you're traveling, especially, your body is very compromised with all of the
Oh, yeah.
bad EMFs and bad blue light and just being fatigued from travel and being on a flight and having to be in, different places at different times. It just makes sense to have such an easy, I mean, I have my PMF with me most of the time, but it's super easy if I could just pull out that 1.5 pound or whatever it is, very lightweight red light and UVB panel, and I just set that up in my hotel room. So it's phenomenal that way.
Yeah, that's the idea to give people the opportunity to get sunshine, even when it's winter or when it's rainy or when we don't have the time to go outside because they work a 9 to 5 or when you travel. Because when you start getting sunlight, it's amazing. For example, in my case, I haven't had any flu in 4 years, and in 2016, 17, 18, 19, I was basically getting sick all of the time. And I didn't know. One of the biggest reasons was having low vitamin D. Even in the cases of COVID, when you see mortality rates, the higher up north you go, that means less vitamin D, then the more mortalities you got. And when you went south, the less mortality rates.
That's
So
such an
it's all linked
incredible
to.
stat. That's such an incredible piece of data right there. And most people probably aren't even aware of that. Like you said before, they think if the sun is out, they're doing a good job, or if they live somewhere sunny like El Salvador, they're going to be fine. But you really need to pay attention to this. And I think some people just might think, because human nature, it just seems too easy. It seems too easy. You mean I can just go out for free, take advantage of sunlight, um, and so people don't believe it just because it seems too good to be true, too easy. But it really is.
Oh,
That's the way this world was created, to sustain life, right? And it wasn't created with the fancy gizmos and biohacks. It was created with the sun and the magnetism and the water and the air. And the reason why people turn to the biohacks and the technology, your light, my devices, are simply because it's not always convenient. The lifestyle doesn't allow it, to go out and take advantage. But anyone in my business, anyone in your business, and I've heard you say this too, and I say it all the time, if you can take advantage of the free things that you've been given by the creator, then go ahead and take advantage of
yeah.
that. If for some reason you need to supplement with some of these biohacks and tech, then they're available too. And I'm thankful that they are. And so it just gives us options, as much as we need. So, Guti,
Yeah.
I appreciate all the information thus far. Hey, what's coming up in the future for you over at MitoLux? What can you tell us?
Well, we have many products coming in this year. We have a tanning lamp that will be available at mid-year, and it will be the world's first natural tanning lamp, because it will have basically the same philosophy. If you're going to add UV, you need to add the right amount and the right wavelengths of red and near infrared. So that's one product. Also, we have a big panel, because this is totally practical and people love it. But some people want a light that could get a half body or even full body if you stack two of them. So we have one of them coming. And obviously, what we're trying to do, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to mimic with every new generation better natural sunlight. So that's what we're aiming for. Just try to replicate every generation better, because you cannot reinvent the wheel. And what we need to do is just try to mimic the sun. So we have panels and many new surprises, but yes, always trying to do things differently.
Yes, well, we'll look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing you out on the road at some point again. I'm sure we'll see each
Yeah.
other soon. And so we'll look for some of those products coming. But I recommend, your current lamp, even just for anyone who's looking to bolster their health, help their body get into good circadian patterns, and maybe get some of that low-hanging fruit as far as the testosterone production and the vitamin D production, and just see how much more optimized you can be. And it stacks, like we said, great with other biohacks like Pulse and other things. So is there anything else, Guti, that you want to touch on today before we sort of wrap up?
Yes, what I always would like to tell people is, don't believe us, go and make your own research. Now you can ask ChatGPT or you can buy books,
That's right.
because if somebody told me 6 years ago, like, Guti, if you get more sun, you will get younger skin. Guti, if you get more sun, you will raise your testosterone, you will increase your immune function, you will be feeling better. You could even increase your microbiome, because UVB also increases microbiome. I would say, like, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So I was a skeptic at first. So you can be a skeptic, do your research, and then you try the sun, you try our lamps, and then you'll be a believer, because that's the way it happened. And just a little example, because at the beginning, I started believing more in UVB at the beginning than actually in infrared. But I said, like, okay, my old dog is having arthritis, and it says that it helps with arthritis and inflammation. Like, okay, I'll give it a try. So I put one on a crate, and day one, she was barely walking. and day 15 she was running, and I said like, oh.
That's great.
So that was what made me a believer. So be a skeptic, read a lot, and then you'll find out that maybe the sun is not what they had been telling us, and we really need to get back into nature.
Yeah, such great advice in really any area of life is just to make sure that you understand, critically think, do your own research, and don't believe everybody who's saying every different thing out there necessarily. So, Guti, it was great having you here today. We're going to include all the links below, and people can reach out and get your product. You can reach out
Mhm.
to me, reach out to Guti on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle, Guti?
It's MitoLux USA.
Okay, great. And so, really appreciate having you here today, Guti, and we'll see you out there again sometime soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And just one last thing.
Yeah.
Pulse PMF, as I told you, it's the Rolls Royce of EMF, because most PMF you will probably take days or weeks to feel the difference. With Pulse PMF, you do it and you feel different right away. So it's amazing.
Thank you for that. Yes. All right. We'll see you soon.